The numbers are staggering. In 2023, the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves fell below 60% for the first time in decades. Central banks worldwide are diversifying away from American assets. They're buying gold at record rates. They're accumulating yuan, euros, and even cryptocurrencies. The world is preparing for a post-dollar era, and most Americans have no idea this is happening. What if I told you that the dollar in your pocket is about to become worthless? What if the entire global financial system as we know it is collapsing right before our eyes and nobody is talking about it? Welcome to the end of American economic hegemony. For decades, the United States has wielded unparalleled economic power across the globe. The dollar has been king. American banks have dominated international finance. Wall Street has dictated terms to the world. But something fundamental is shifting beneath our feet, and the consequences will reshape everything you thought you knew about money, power, and global order. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is happening right now, and the signs are everywhere if you know where to look. Let's start with the most shocking development. The BRICS nations are building a parallel financial universe. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with newly added members like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran, represent over 40% of the world's population and a rapidly growing share of global GDP. These aren't small players anymore. These are economic titans who are tired of playing by American rules. China and Russia have already begun settling trades in their own currencies, completely bypassing the dollar. Saudi Arabia, America's longtime ally in the Middle East, is now accepting Chinese yuan for oil sales. Think about what this means. For 50 years, oil has been sold exclusively in dollars. This arrangement, known as the petrodollar system, has been the cornerstone of American financial dominance. It meant every country needed dollars to buy energy, creating artificial demand for American currency and allowing the United States to print money with fewer consequences than any other nation on earth. That system is dying, but it gets worse. The weapon that America has used to enforce its will, economic sanctions, is backfiring spectacularly. When the United States froze Russian central bank assets and cut Russia from the SWIFT payment system, it sent a clear message to every other country watching. This was a catastrophic strategic error. Countries around the world saw this and immediately began working on alternatives. China accelerated its cross-border interbank payment system. Russia, India, and others developed bilateral payment mechanisms. The message was clear. Never again would they allow themselves to be vulnerable to American financial coercion. Consider what's happening with US Treasury bonds, once considered the safest investment on earth. China, Japan, and other major holders have been steadily reducing their positions. They're quietly divesting from American debt. Meanwhile, the US government continues to spend trillions it doesn't have, running deficits that would have been unthinkable just 20 years ago. The national debt has exploded past $36 trillion, and there's no political will to address it. Who's going to buy all this debt if foreign governments stop? The Federal Reserve has to print more money, which devalues the currency further, which pushes more countries to seek alternatives, creating a vicious cycle that accelerates America's decline. Then there's the technological dimension. China isn't just challenging America economically, it's leapfrogging ahead in critical technologies. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, 5G networks, electric vehicles, renewable energy. China is investing hundreds of billions, while America argues about culture wars and political theater. The country that leads in technology leads in everything, and America's advantage is slipping away. The Belt and Road Initiative represents the largest infrastructure program in human history. China is building ports, railways, highways, and telecommunications networks across Asia, Africa, and Europe. It's creating new trade routes and economic dependencies that don't include America. Meanwhile, American infrastructure crumbles from decades of neglect. The contrast couldn't be starker, but here's what makes this truly dangerous for the average American. When hegemony ends, living standards collapse. The American middle class has enjoyed artificially high purchasing power for generations because of the dollar's dominance. Cheap imports, low interest rates, the ability to consume far more than the country produces, all of this has been subsidized by America's position at the center of global finance. When that position evaporates, reality hits hard. Imports become expensive. Inflation becomes structural, not temporary. Interest rates rise because the government can't just print money without consequences anymore. The lifestyle Americans take for granted becomes unaffordable. We're already seeing the early stages. Inflation has devastated household budgets. Real wages have stagnated for years. Home ownership is increasingly out of reach for younger generations. Healthcare and education costs have skyrocketed. These aren't random problems. They're symptoms of an empire in decline, desperately trying to maintain an unsustainable system through monetary manipulation and debt accumulation. The geopolitical implications are equally profound. American military power has always been underwritten by economic power. Projecting force globally, maintaining hundreds of military bases worldwide, supporting a massive defense industry, all of this requires enormous financial resources. As economic dominance fades, military overextension becomes impossible to sustain. History shows us what happens to empires in this position. Britain faced this exact situation after World War II. Despite winning the war, Britain was financially exhausted and could no longer maintain its empire. Within decades, the British Empire had essentially dissolved, and Britain became a secondary power. The parallels to America's current trajectory are uncomfortable and undeniable. Some argue that American innovation and entrepreneurship will save the day. Silicon Valley will create the next generation of world-changing companies. American universities will continue producing cutting-edge research. There's some truth to this, but innovation alone cannot substitute for sound fiscal policy, functional infrastructure, and social cohesion. The Soviet Union had brilliant scientists and engineers, but that didn't prevent systemic collapse. Others claim that rival powers face their own serious problems. China has demographic challenges and a property sector crisis. Russia's economy remains dependent on commodity exports. Europe lacks political unity. India still struggles with poverty and infrastructure gaps. All true, but none of this changes the fundamental trend. The unipolar moment is over. We're entering a multipolar world where America is one power among several, not the undisputed hegemon. The really terrifying question is what comes next. Transitions between hegemonic powers are historically violent. The shift from British to American dominance involved 2 world wars and a global depression. When established powers decline and rising powers assert themselves, the risk of catastrophic conflict increases dramatically. We're living through a period of maximum danger, and most people are sleepwalking through it. Financial markets are already pricing in this transformation, even if the mainstream media isn't discussing it. Gold has hit record highs. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are seeing massive institutional adoption. Smart money is hedging against dollar decline. The wealthy and well-informed are preparing for a different world, while the middle class remains oblivious. What can individuals do in the face of these massive structural shifts? Diversification becomes critical. Don't hold all your wealth in dollar-denominated assets. Consider international exposure, precious metals, hard assets. Develop skills that will remain valuable regardless of which currency dominates. Build resilience and self-sufficiency. Most importantly, understand what's happening so you can make informed decisions. The end of American hegemony doesn't mean the end of America, but it does mean the end of American exceptionalism as we've known it. It means accepting that the post-World War II order is finished. It means adapting to a world where the United States is no longer the unquestioned center of everything. This transformation will unfold over years, possibly decades, but the direction is clear. The world is rising up, not through military conquest, but through economic evolution and financial alternatives. They're delivering blows to the American economy, not out of hatred, but out of self-interest, and the recognition that the current system no longer serves them. The American empire, built on financial dominance, military projection, and the petrodollar, is crumbling. Whether this leads to gradual managed decline or sudden catastrophic collapse depends on choices made in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and capitals around the world. One thing is certain, the world that emerges from this transition will look nothing like the world we've known. And, for Americans accustomed to unquestioned prosperity and global dominance, the adjustment will be painful, disorienting, and unavoidable. The era of American hegemony is ending. The only question now is what comes next, and whether we're prepared for it.